Time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by TheDartZone.com. Stay in the zone. TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Welcome.
Another Wednesday.
Another Wednesday. Here we are in the lovely city of Chicago.
That is the planetarium view. Mm-hmm. If you all get to Chicago,
we're in the planetarium.
Well, no.
Right now?
Well, okay. Welcome to Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. I had dinner with TheDartZone.com over the weekend.
Nice.
And also with the lovely Nozomi from Cosmo Darts.
Okay.
And after we had dinner, I'm like, well, have you ever seen the city? Because, you know, she's only seen the parking lot of the Hyatt Regency. So I took her down on a little driving tour, took her to the University of Chicago, and then went all the way up. And I was like, thought that we could just kind of hang at the planetarium. It was a nice evening, and it's a really good spot to see the city from and see all the, the skyline and everything. Nowhere to park, so double park hazards. Oh, go out, take a picture, and that's what I got.
And there you go.
That's what I got. I'm still waiting on a picture from you, by the way. And again, anybody wants to
route.
send in a background picture, just email it to darttalk@gmail.com. Let's disclaim any and all things.
Let's do that.
The views, opinions, rants, and rampages expressed on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect individually or collectively those of our sponsors, co-sponsors, wannabe hosts, hearing-impaired critics, or those with a penchant for attitudinal dysfunction. We at Dart Talk strive to provide you, the listener, with an educational, entertaining, and fun-filled experience each and every week. If after the show you, the listener, find yourself feeling uneducated, unentertained, and or bored, we at Dart Talk consider that your own problem.
And good luck with all of that. How was your weekend?
It was all right. It was good, actually.
We got
very enjoyable.
Very enjoyable. Got some rest, right?
I did.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
We had a big show. We're going to talk. You made your league debut
I did.
last night. I actually got a chance to witness it, so
After
I
2
can
off
heckle you
weeks.
on the show now. It'll be awesome.
Way to make up week, yes.
We also have a guest from Pennsylvania, kind of a last-minute addition, and we have a live studio audience
We
for
do.
the first time.
I
You
know.
guys want to give us a round of applause? Can you guys hear that? It's not quite the Colbert Steven,
No,
but
but
it's still
yes.
progress.
We were lucky to find them chairs.
Yeah. We got plenty of chairs around here. Anybody who wants to see us do the show live, just stop by the studio, send an email, darttalk@gmail.com. We'll give you directions and tickets. They're free.
Yes.
So real quick, there was some interesting stuff on Facebook. We did the show a couple of weeks ago talking about what a dart movie would look like.
Right.
People are starting to say, what would a dart reality show look like? So I want to talk about that. We have a guest on. We'll have a little bit later and talk about that and a couple of other issues that seem
Relevant.
worthy of discussion.
Yes.
So tell me now, this is funny. How was the league last night?
I don't know, in one word or like a bunch.
You can take some personal time.
Part of it was excruciating.
Okay.
Just the format is just, we've talked about it before, it's just long. It took forever. It was fun. I saw a lot of people I haven't seen in a while. It was at a bar, obviously, so therefore it was long, and I had a fun time.
Right.
Darts-wise, it was pretty much what I expected.
Well, I got a chance to watch I saw your 501 singles match. I saw part of your cricket doubles match.
Yeah.
You had a cricket doubles game where you both had over 1,000 points.
Yeah, that was bad.
All right,
That
so
was
I have to kind of
1,000 something, like 1,050 to 1,005 or
There's
something.
absolutely, for one, you guys started at 8 And what time did you finish? Like 1 in the morning or
I
something?
think I left at 12:30.
And it was over?
Yeah.
So a 4.5-hour match
it was
on a
bad.
weeknight.
Right. It started
And
at
this is the
8:15,
second highest division in skill in the city.
supposedly.
Yeah, okay. Number one, I don't know why you're playing 1,000-point cricket games. Try closing a number. I'm just saying, it's just like, there's no reason to do it. I understand you're not playing with professionals and everything, but I just can't believe that you would enough's enough. It's one leg. Okay, whatever. Close at 20s, you win, we'll play another
Well,
leg.
it goes both ways, though. It's like, all right, so I point. By the way, I'm on the losing end of this 1,000-point leg.
Right. Well, they had the 20s.
Yeah.
You held them off on 17s. At some point,
Right.
you got to close at 20s. You
But,
can't win a game.
well, they can't close 17s, and my partner can't
Yeah, well, that's...
take advantage of it, and then I have to hit more points, and then they can't take advantage of it, and it just went on and on and on. But you think at one point they would either
Yeah.
close them
Here's
or somebody else would take advantage of it.
Yeah,
but it didn't work out that way.
one thing that I've always wanted to discuss on the show that I've always avoided at all costs because I don't want everyone to be emailing me about how I think I'm great. But when you're playing doubles and you have a partner who isn't hitting, you have to adjust your strategy. If you just say to yourself, well, I'm just going to play my game and either he's going to jump in or he's not, that is a recipe for failure.
Okay.
In my opinion. So if I'm playing cricket and I got a guy who's throwing one counts, there's no way on earth, especially you're playing blind draws and stuff, there's no way on earth that you could play your normal cricket game. Right? You have to adjust for the fact that, okay, now it's 5 darts on 3 or 6 darts on 3. They've got the 20s. I have to close them or I'm never going to catch up. Because every time they throw a triple 20, you need a 4 mark to exceed it, no matter what triple you're throwing at.
Right.
You can't sustain that kind of damage round after round after round. Right? So we've talked about this before. When you're playing cricket, which I even hate to discuss, when you're playing cricket and you're going second, and you look back at a game, there was one ideal time where you had a whack to close the 20s. Either you took it or you didn't take it and you hit it or you didn't hit it. But in retrospect, there's always one spot where it's like, that was where I could have done it.
Sure.
Now, looking back on that 1,000-point game, was there a point? What was the best point where you could have closed the 20s? Excuse me. Where was the best point, and did you take a shot at it?
No, I wouldn't have taken the best point probably would have been because when I was hitting 17s, it was probably it would have been a third dart after I had hit 4 17s, and then it would have been a third dart, take a whack at the 20, which I did not.
So like getting like less than a, getting a 20-point lead and then trying to close the 20s or something like that. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I didn't even have that. So no,
you could also have your partner shoot at it. Well, I don't mean just you personally. I mean your team, right?
Yeah, no, our team. So no, it always seemed like, all right, so I hit 4 17s, I had a dart in my hand, but I was still down like 30 points, and then I'd hit a triple 17 and hit 7 17s, and we'd take the lead. Then they'd take the lead on 20s, and then my partner would go up. Granted, that would probably have been the best spot where you're talking, where the lead was only about 30 points.
That's only 2 bulls.
30 points with 3 darts in your hand.
To be down 2 bulls when you started out 3 darts behind, you've actually made progress.
Which would have been the best. Which would have been the best spot right there is to take your 3 darts, like my partner take his 3 darts at the 20s. Hopefully hit a triple on one of the first 2, and then you could go points, or you could even try and hit the 18s. I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, if you 3 mark the 20s and they 3 mark the 17s, that's a good trade for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Down
running out of numbers,
right.
But there's no more ton 40s.
Right. Plus
in
now
your
that you make
future.
them, especially at the level I'm playing at, you make them hit the 18s now, which they don't you don't throw at as often.
Yeah, we've talked about that. When you're playing amateurs and, kind of part-time players and stuff, they're always going to score on the 20s and the 19s better than the 18s and the 17s, and then they'll struggle on 6s and 5s, and that's where...
Which is what kept me in the game. They struggled
money.
closing the 17s.
Yeah. Right.
So, that would have been the strategy there for sure. Instead of let alone the fact that my outs were awful. And I lost to a guy that,
I mean, I
never should have lost to.
You know, the only criticism I had was you were on 234 and you threw a 60.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you can't do that. You know, I mean, I'm like, if you go to the 19 on your second dart and then you single that and you go bull, you're on a finish.
Right. Well, it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. I mean, when I lost both legs of best of 3, and I missed
30?
Probably 30 rounds.
Well, 30 darts, 10 rounds.
30, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least 5 each leg.
Oh, I think one was more than 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was like a really I wasn't
couldn't hit a
impressed.
double.
I wasn't impressed by the level of play of either team, and I believe I said that out loud more than once.
Oh, sure.
I couldn't believe how long you guys were taking. It's been a long
Well.
time since I played League, but I was like,
Well,
you know,
no.
what
So
on
let
earth
alone
is
I
going on
let
here?
alone I open up and then I take forever, and I mean I was at, you know, it wasn't world class darts, but it was probably like 18, 21 darters that I probably could have thrown.
You were scoring.
I
Okay.
probably could have thrown a 18, 21
Oh
darter.
yeah, you were throwing at a finish,
and I turned that
like
into
19 darts,
it
and
turned that into
you
40.
lose to a guy throwing a 39 dart game. I
Right.
mean, it was like
So I
pretty
did that
ugly.
twice. So then the next game, well, it was a doubles. That didn't take that long. And then the next game was the 301 singles, and those two guys took probably
Yeah, it was not a high
45
standard of play
45
to
minutes.
play 3 legs at 301.
yeah. Then you follow that up with the 1,000 dart cricket game, and next thing you know, we've played 4 legs, and it's
Or
like
4
10
set. Yeah,
It's 10:30.
yeah, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it sped up
was-
later in the day.
Yeah.
The I don't know. The only thing that I found that I wanted to talk to you about, and then we'll get Melinda on, is we talked, you know, briefly last night, if you remember.
I do.
I kind of remember this part where I asked you, why did you miss so many doubles?
I wasn't throwing well, but I to me I felt like I wasn't extending to the dartboard.
Yeah,
I was lobbing.
and you're right. That's exactly what you were doing. So, what did you do to correct it?
Well, not very successfully, but I tried to, you know, make sure I just followed through and just, you know,
Okay.
fire at the board.
I mean, it wasn't like you
Part
were
of it-
missing by a ton.
part
you know
of
what
it
I mean?
was a little bit relaxing, is like not thinking so much. Like later in the cricket games, it was more like, you know, just see the board, hit the board,
right.
as opposed to, you know, trying to get it out of your mind. To tell yourself to follow through is hard to do while you're throwing the darts. You know, it's almost like you just have to relax and just take it out of your mind and just trust the fact that you're going to follow through the board.
Yeah, I was talking. I don't remember who I was talking to. I talked to all your teammates last night, and I talked to actually guys on both teams. And somebody I was saying is like, look, when you're playing in a match, especially, you're pretty rusty.
Yeah.
You know, as far as like, you know,
that was proven.
playing competitively. Well, I mean, everybody has these, you know, and your opponent didn't help you any.
Right.
I mean, if your opponent would just finish it, you'd go on.
Exactly.
And so
Would've
now
moved
he
on.
starts to miss, and you're missing, and now you're in a double slump.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean that's kind of
It
a
probably
ugly
would have been
feeling.
better if he would have just beat me and I would have only missed like one to two whacks at it instead
Yeah.
of 8.
Yeah, that starts to get kind of
Then
excruciating.
the second leg might not have been I might have finished.
But the one thing that I would say, you know, like, you know, for league players, recreational players, part-time players, whatever, is like if things are going on like that, just make the easiest, simple adjustment you can and don't do anything else.
Yeah.
If you're missing everything to the right, move over an inch to the left and then just play.
And still do
If
it. Right.
you're missing high, lean forward a little bit and then just play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, just make one simple little adjustment and leave everything alone. You're not going to fix it in the middle of a leg, and
Yeah, I
you're just
wasn't-
going to make it worse.
I wasn't really trying to make
Right.
adjustments other than I was just trying to get myself to follow through the board. I felt relaxed, and I actually felt confident that I was going to hit it.
You look good on the 20. I
but
mean, I
I
was
just-
watching you. Your release was relatively consistent.
But I mean, obviously,
You know,
I had
yeah, for first week,
I knew I had some
thought it was
some
good.
snafus. There were, you know, obviously I released poor darts, but for the most part, well, especially always at the double, but for the most part, as I was throwing, and then I got to the double, and even after I got another opportunity and another opportunity, I was like, all right, you know, just go up there, throw a dart, and it just, you know.
I don't know. I thought you looked good. I thought you looked good. You looked a little bit like Widmer. You know, Widmer has
nice.
Widmayer keeps his kind of his hand out a little bit like this,
Yeah.
like you do.
Yeah.
Like you throw kind of like the okay dart, like everything's
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. My hand just cramped up doing that. I don't know how you do that, but okay, let's take our first break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk with Melinda Mannion from somewhere in Pennsylvania about what a dart reality TV show would or should be like.
Right.
You're listening to Dart Talk Mystery Mark, Steve Stillman, and we will be right back.
The views and opinions expressed on Dart Talk are those of the hosts. They in no way should be misrepresented, misinterpreted, or made to claim that the universe is against you, your family, your city, or the darting community at large.
Okay, back for the second quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks to Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. They're hard at work. Hopefully, they don't drop the hammer or whatever they're doing back there. Start the saw.
I would like to say one thing real quick though, but
Okay.
regardless about everything with darts, it was fun to get back into it, and regardless of everything that happened, as long as it took, it was fun to see everybody. I didn't plan on drinking that much, and stuff like that happens. But overall, it was as poorly as I played. I enjoyed it again. So
Well,
we'll see
I mean,
what happens.
I think that's what league is supposed to be. I mean, I think league is, if you're not enjoying yourself, why play?
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a money league or anything
Right.
like that. I
It
mean,
was- it was fun.
guys are competitive. You got a nice crew. I mean,
Yeah.
I hope I wasn't too hard on guys. But I mean, when I see you're in the second level, the second highest division, and guys are leaving 159, I just can't take it. I just can't take it. I mean, guys been playing longer than me, and they don't know how to play.
Right.
Like the guy on 68 who kept leaving himself on 5, and we're
Well,
trying
it's
to
kind
figure
of
out
funny.
how did you
It's
do
like,
that?
It's
you
like
know?
watching a baseball game and you're watching major leaguers and they don't know how to do a rundown.
Yeah, they don't know how to do a rundown, and
It's-
it's the Cubs.
It's the same
right,
thing.
yeah.
It's
yeah,
like how do you leave yourself 159? It's the same concept.
And
so.
one of the guys was basically had this attitude that because I'm a pro, because he's not a pro, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I just cannot relate to that kind of thinking.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
so you're not a pro baseball player? Does that mean when you hit the ball, you run to third? Or right straight past
Or
the
you
pitcher to
don't,
second
or,
base?
well, or you just not even that, or you just don't hustle. It's like, okay, well, it's the same thing.
You want a guy like that on your team? I mean, honestly.
So
Anyway, yeah. So no, in fairness, I thought you played pretty well.
it was all right.
With the exception of you couldn't hit a double to save your life at the beginning of the night. I
Right.
thought you played pretty well for a guy that hasn't played league in 4 years and doesn't practice or anything. I
Right.
thought you did good. So we'll have to. I'll check up on you again. I'll pop in,
Yeah, we'll-
next month and after you've been at it a few
We'll let
weeks.
you,
and-
like 4 weeks into the season. We'll let
I mean,
you
I
know.
thought I behaved. I didn't really heckle you guys, and
No.
I don't know.
No, not while
I
the match
enjoy
was going.
that.
You
Well,
didn't heckle until
it's the fun
match
of
was
the
over.
fun of the audience is to be able to influence the play.
Yes.
That's why you yell at the ball player.
Exactly.
Drop it.
Right.
Or you know what I mean. I mean that's fun for fans. I
Yes.
mean, and we're going to talk about fans. We're going to talk about how to get people to watch darts, how to make darts entertaining. And we have a guest to join us, Melinda Mannion she'll have to tell us where she's from. She told me before the show, but I can't
Somewhere-
say I retained
Yeah.
that information. Melinda, are you with us?
I'm here. How are you tonight?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. This is a nice little surprise for the evening for me.
What's that, coming on the show?
Yeah, absolutely. Who would have thought a silly little post on Facebook could have led to all this commotion?
Well, okay, just for the people watching the show, I checked in on Facebook this afternoon at 3 in the afternoon, right? And I'm kind of like, okay, whose birthday it is, who posted a picture. I had to send one picture to somebody because I thought it was funny. And then I looked and there's a post with 400 comments that started out talking about how the reason darts isn't popular is that it doesn't have its own reality show. And I'm like, huh? And people were writing novels.
That was the
I mean, it
concept?
wasn't just 400 comments. I mean, people were sitting down thinking about this and writing, 2 or 3 paragraph answers to stuff. And I was just like, really? This is sort of amazing. And I didn't really... All I kind of posted was, well, this is the longest and most bizarre thread I've ever seen because it was going in a lot of places. It got personal with some people. I mean, you hate to see that. But there was some interesting stuff in there. So I kind of posted, hey, the reality is we're doing a show tonight, right? And then people were like, well, do you want to talk about this? And I'm like, well, why don't you come on and talk about it? So Melinda's coming on and talk about it. So Melinda, talk about it. First, tell everybody who you are.
All right, my name is Melinda Mannion. I am a relatively new player to the dart scene. I started out playing soft tip just locally in league at the bar and eventually started playing in tournaments. I started dating Ryan Barnett, and he decided that I was going to be a steel tip player. So I've branched out and made this big leap into the big scary world of steel tip darts, and I absolutely love it.
I'm tempted to ask
I was
if that
gonna
was
say
an
good for
overnight
him.
decision.
That's
But
good for him.
I hate
Wait,
when
which one? Dating Ryan or playing steel tip?
Going to steel, was that an overnight decision? I find that funny.
It wasn't, and I'll be honest, it was very scary and very intimidating to me at first, being a straight soft tip player. But the steel tip community as a whole is amazing, and they're so willing to teach people and to have new people come into the sport, which is kind of why I think this whole reality TV has some merit to it, because they are so willing to do what they need to do to grow the sport.
Okay, well, I can't let that one go. Do you find the steel tip community is more open and accepting than the soft tip community?
I would say the steel tip community, it has a different atmosphere to it. It's a little bit more reserved. It's a little more serious, and it seems like they want to see these new players come in and play. I won't necessarily say that everyone wants to see them win, but they like to see new faces at tournaments.
Okay, that's kind of interesting. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but fair warning, it may happen again.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been playing for how long now?
4 years. That's it.
4 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how long you been playing steel?
Seriously, probably about 8 months.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Was it?
And how long you been dating Ryan?
About 8 months.
We had Ryan on the show as one of our. We did the interview kind of offline and edited it and ran it. Was that last year?
Yeah,
it
was
almost
it
a
was
year
before
ago. It was
they
in
met.
Nashville. It was Nashville last year. I think that we did the interview. Have to say hi to him for me.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen him around. I haven't been getting out much.
I think Virginia Beach was the last time we saw you guys.
Right. That's right. That seems like 5 months ago, but that was actually only about 7 weeks ago.
A month and a half ago.
I don't know.
It's
all those.
It seems forever.
It's all those April baseball games where I froze to death. Something happened, like I was like hibernating or something. Well, let's talk about reality TV. First, tell us about this post and what you came away with after 400 and whatever comments.
Who posted it? Did you post it?
No, so I don't even remember.
Did Melinda post it? Or?
No, Ann Kramer started this, and it was
her fault. Okay.
It's all Ann's fault. Basically, she had seen some of the pictures that were coming out of the Chicago Bull Shooter World Finals, and people in crazy costumes and jumping around, having a great time, and the atmosphere that was there was so much fun. And she said, maybe this is what we need, is for people to see some of the characters in darts, to see the personalities coming out, to get behind the sort of the characters of the dart scene.
Well, you need media for that. I mean, the only way that that like a professional football player or basketball player or baseball player is zany and crazy is because they talk to the reporters and they're like, hey, I'm zany and crazy, like Manny Ramirez.
Right.
I mean,
Allen Iverson.
Well, he does goofy things. I mean,
right.
The dart players, Peter Wright kind of dresses outrageously, and I've seen like some people smash the board in frustration. But I mean, it's not a game that lends to a lot of stuff during the game. Right, baseball,
True.
You got plenty of time to goof off because half the time you're just standing there doing nothing. Right?
Yeah.
If you're not hitting or pitching, you're just standing there waiting for the ball to come to you. Right. Football's a little different. Football, you can't really see much except after the play, right? Touchdown, sack dance, what have you. You could see guys argue on the sideline, but it's in the locker room talking to the reporters and like the beat guys that cover everybody, during practices and go on the road with them and stuff like that is what generates like who's a character.
Mm-hmm.
Now with social media, you've got players that are kind of like, okay, somebody posted something on Twitter somewhat controversial or something. I actually retweeted something for the first time in I don't know how long. Adrian Lewis lost in the first round of both of the PDC championship or Players Challenge match or Players Championship series. They had number 9 and 10 over the weekend. And if you guys look at the crawl, the guys that are watching on YouTube, you'll see the results there somewhere. he like took a selfie of himself giving the finger and tweeted it to Raymond Van Barneveld, who had beaten him, and I thought that was funny, so I retweeted it. I mean, those kinds of things make you a character, right? I mean, it's kind of weird. Americans don't really use Twitter like they do in Europe. Some of the pro jocks do, but like everybody's kind of using Facebook, and Facebook isn't really good for the one-off. You know what I mean? Just take a picture, send it, like on Instagram or something. Facebook's more like sit down, read, type. It takes longer, as far as like just doing the real quick reaction thing, right? So, I don't know.
432 comments longer.
Yeah, which, is basically like, reading a short story by Henry James and is equally unenjoyable sometimes.
Most times.
Well, here's the thing with Facebook, and the discussion group you guys are in, I always think is very good, and everybody's like thoughtful, and they have I think relevant and enriching things to say, edifying things to say, but I always go back to, is it worth the effort it took to read it? And I'm not sure, Americans especially don't want to read 25 pages. They would rather read 3. And, Ann Kramer posted something about how, well, we don't need to show dart matches. We just need to see 30-second highlights. And I'm like thinking, I didn't really agree with that either. But let's talk about this reality TV thing now. So the original post was like, basically the cure-all is going to be a reality TV show about darts.
I don't think that Anne made a specific statement about it, but rather generalized that in America today it seems to be a pathway to exposure, these reality shows. You've got things like Game of Arms, which is an arm wrestling show.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that. I'm not sure that, the Game of Arms guys are making, like, money hand over fist because they were on that show. A lot of them you wouldn't even recognize. So,
but that wasn't the point of the post.
Well, I didn't know.
No, I think it's a pathway to exposure, and things like the UFC, the Ultimate Fighter, where they went out and tried to find the new great UFC star, that brought exposure to UFC and got people interested in it, and people pulling for the next big thing. Even things like toddlers and tiaras that have the little pageant girls. That's got people interested in doing beauty pageants
right,
again.
I think, there's a cart before the horse question here and a question of chronology, right? So let's look at this toddlers and tiaras, right? Preceding that was this incredibly sad story of John Benet Ramsey that was in the news for years. This poor little girl they found dead, and they never found out who did it, and now both her parents are dead. One was suspected. I don't know. I can't remember the whole thing. But that puts little girl beauty pageants into kind of like the public spectrum. And then eventually there's reality TV. When you talk about UFC, before they did the UFC reality show, you had MMA and UFC fighters on TV. So when you talk about one thing leading to another, like they did the same thing in golf. You got the Big Break. Have you ever watched that?
Right, yeah.
All right, that's a reality
No, I have
show.
not watched it.
Oh, well, the thing about that is that the people that come through it never become anything, and they somehow manage to find 6 really attractive women on every show. I don't know quite how that works out, but that's what they do. What was I watching? I was watching this. I talked about this movie, Friends with Benefits. Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis.
Oh, the movie, yeah.
Where the guy's like, hey, my website got 10 million hits or something, and she's like, you know what, I could use my boobs to stir cake batter and get 10 million hits. And then eventually in the movie, they show a YouTube thing of some woman who's like trying to stir cake batter with her boobs, and it gets 10 million hits. I mean, you can get exposure. It's what you're exposing. This is my worry. My worry is that you're going to do a reality show and try to get all this attention, and we're going to end up with the Zeus guy who's like, oh, hey, Mountaintop, does this look like a pro?
No, man, you're bringing
That's the one thing I don't want.
You're bringing up examples of like UFC and stuff, but
well, she brought them up. I didn't.
Well, no, but of saying that it was the cart before the horse thing. But,
yeah.
But Jersey Shore wasn't on TV before.
Jersey Shore was a knockoff of like MTV's Real World, which was on for 20 years. It's the same thing. Let's follow these kids around and see what they do.
Okay, but so the reality show for darts is just a knockoff of other sporting event reality shows.
We're going to talk about this. So let's take a break, Melinda. Stay with us, and we're going to come back and we're going to decide for everyone what the real most successful reality show for darts would be like.
Absolutely.
And I will give you my opinion, and then if you disagree with it, we'll talk until you agree. So you're listening, to Dart Talk with Melinda Mannion, Mystery Mark, Steve Panancialman, and we'll be back in a minute. This will be a quick one.
Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour. Dart Talk agrees to adhere to the Geneva Convention in treating fairly its prisoners in their war against lackluster darting administration and behaviour.
I think you missed another double there. Second half of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. Melinda Mannion is still with us, and we're talking about
We got editors for that stuff, though.
reality TV dart. What?
We got editors for that.
Yeah, I'm going to sit and edit this. Wow. See, when I say "Are you ready?" that means like check the volume.
Yes,
that's as bad as me forgetting to record the show.
Then you went over and did something else, and I didn't think you started. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So let's go back to Melinda.
Okay, let's see if Melinda's still with us or if she got bored.
I'm still here, guys.
Our studio audience had to leave, but I'll take an update on the Hawks game if anybody's in the chat room. And if we're losing, I don't want to hear anything.
It was 3-2 after 1. That's the last I knew.
Just killing me.
You just asked for an update.
Yeah, I know. But
He wanted good news.
I
You
wanted
should have
good
just
news.
made something
They were
Not
up.
that our
winning
lead
3-2.
was cut in half.
Oh,
All right, that's not what I really want to hear. See, now I'm sad again.
so you just want to see the world through rose-colored glasses and just everything's fine. And so all the updates that come in should be the Hawks are up 5-2.
You know, that's
And
what
then-
Cub fans are like.
And then
they
all of a
put
sudden,
on
the
Cubs
game
glasses.
is over. You go, or the show's over. You go home and you see that they lost, and it was just because.
Then I delete whatever's on the DVR, although I'll probably watch this game and kind of see who we need to get rid of. Play armchair GM. Anyway, Melinda Mannion is with us, and we're talking about what would a reality show centered around darts, what should that be like? And I'll just start with my fear. You know, my fear is that, you know, everybody wants, you know, characters, and I get that. But one of the reasons we started doing the show was so we could show that darts is a serious sport and that we could treat it. We're not professional journalists, but that we could treat it like a serious sport. We give results, we interview players, la-di-da-di-da, all this stuff. And, you know, reality TV, I mean, you don't watch it at all.
Never.
And
I
why,
don't think I've watched an episode of any of them.
And why is it you don't watch reality TV? What's your objection to it?
I don't really think it's reality. I think it's scripted. So they call it reality TV, and they try and get you on this premise, and then, I mean, like, I don't know. So I just never got into it. I prefer sports.
You prefer sports?
Yeah.
Well, it's live drama. You know,
And,
live
you know,
sports
right.
is,
And
you know.
I don't like fake or, you know, written drama just to get people to watch of like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, whichever one. I don't really care about these people's lives, so I don't watch it.
Some of them never made sense to me. Like The Bachelor never made sense to me, and so many people watched it, and I'm like, okay, here's this like, you know, supposedly really good-looking people, and the only way that you could find a husband or wife is to go on a game show.
Yeah.
What on earth?
Successful.
Maybe
good
that's
looking,
why you're
right.
not married.
Right.
Maybe you know you're incapable of a normal relationship. Stands to reason, right?
That would make sense
And
to me. I
then-
don't know. It just doesn't. I mean,
I don't know. It's like the mystery of like which girl's gonna put out first, right? And then
well,
will the
maybe
guy
that's why
take
The
her if
Bachelor is going
I
on the
mean,
show just to see how
well,
many people he's going
look,
to sleep with.
Now they got a reality show now with people that have been on reality shows with bad marriages.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just getting to be absurd.
Oh, and then you have. I mean,
So
they're
at
all
some
absurd.
point, okay, at some point, it's like, okay, fine. You want to do a dart reality show, then what would the reality be? Because I remember there was I'm not going to say his name. There was a pretty well-known darter in America who told me he was negotiating to do like a reality show, and this is like 4 years ago.
Really?
And I was like kind of thinking, a reality show based on one darter and what he has to go through to do what? I'm like thinking, I don't see how this would be all that interesting. I'm not, and that's not a slam on anybody.
No. Would you rather have something like that, or would you rather have it like a Big Break type of reality show?
Well, here's the thing. Now, if you wanted to do
Or Steve, how about something like Top Gun? Have you ever seen the show Top Gun?
is that the sniper one?
Yes, where there's different challenges each week, and there's a more of a competition focusing on the sport. Not, I mean, there's still characters and there's still backstories, but it's not that scripted drama where people are made to look like idiots or people are made to have a popularity contest.
Yeah,
where it's more focusing on the skills.
Okay, well, so if you want to do a reality show that's one of these, okay, we're going to eliminate somebody every week, and we're going to have some sort of a skills challenge, and then like Top Chef, they had one challenge where you got immunity from getting kicked out, and then you had another contest. Top Chef was like real popular. It was like a cooking contest, right? Which was totally rigged, I thought. I was like, I couldn't believe the one guy. The year that I watched it, I was like, are you kidding me? But let me tell you,
Okay.
there's one reality show that I found fascinating.
It's Top Shot, not Top Gun.
Top Shot, not Top
Top
Shot.
Shot, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You're allowed do-overs on this show because we are live. There was a show that was on, I want to say it was on Bravo. It was either on Bravo or A&E. I think it was on Bravo, and it was called The Restaurant. And all they did was they got some celebrity chef. He's going to open up a restaurant. And the show started with him getting his financing and going to look for a restaurant, and it was going to be like Italian food the way his mother made it and stuff like this. And then all the characters were like a waiter, and then the owner and the owner's assistant, or the financer's assistant, and then the chef, who's never there because he's always doing book signings and all this stuff while everything's falling apart. I found it very dramatic. But for darts, it would almost be the equivalent of trying to put on a dart tournament. And I'm like, I don't think anybody would watch that. Right? Where you have all these people trying to come together to do one thing. I think that you can eliminate that from consideration. I think you need to go to the knockout kind of a thing.
Yeah, I get
Absolutely.
I get the concept. I get the I agree with the fact that if you had a reality, I don't know which way you would do it, but if you got a reality series show on darts, that would promote it. People watch the. I don't watch any reality shows, but people watch them, and if you could come up with something that's good, or it doesn't even have to be that good, you just have to have something that's on TV and people watch it.
Look, I mean, people will watch anything if it's unique, interesting, or
A train wreck.
softcore. Well, people like watching train wrecks as long as they don't take too long.
Right.
I mean, the train wreck that like takes an entire season, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think a reality show about darts should be a cross between Intervention and Hunger Games. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think it should be like that. But if it was modeled more along the lines of like, let's say you got, I don't know, 8, 16, I don't know what the normal, if it's a 16-week show, or if it's a 15-week show, then you get 16 people, you eliminate one a week, right? So, I mean, 13 weeks is a normal season, so then you need 14 people. Right?
Or a double elimination week. Ooh,
Okay, so-
twist.
Ooh, wow.
Oh, well, yeah, right, okay. So, whatever.
She's got it going.
No, well, she watches reality TV, obviously, because they did that on Survivor or something. But let's say, okay, so you get 16 people. What 16 people would people want to watch?
Well, the thought that I had, and this was really kind of off the cuff, and I took it out of Anne's comment and the whole thread that was going on there and moved it over. And I just kind of said, tongue-in-cheek, how about we take 32 players and they have to go find, and I jokingly said Amish people because, you know, Amish reality TV is a big hit right now.
See, when you said Amish and Alaskan, I was like, well, why don't you get somebody who's Salish? And then you get both.
I was saying that they would go and find players, and you would have 32 players that coached non-players, and the non-players play in the tournaments. And win or lose, that player and that coach are eliminated after the round.
Okay, 32 people I think is too many.
Okay,
Because
so we'll cut that way down.
Yeah, when you
because-
think about it, if it's an hour-long show, you're only getting about 44 minutes. So if you had 32 people divided by 42 minutes, or you did like one group of 8 one week, one group of 8 the next week, did it like that, I mean, that's not a whole lot of airtime for everybody.
Right.
As far as like when you want to start developing so people can kind of like,
How
get
much
to know their
airtime do
characters
these people
and
get
stuff.
generally anyway? 2 minutes?
Well, 32 people's a zoo for reality TV, I think. right? I mean, Game of Arms was weird. They would have 2 teams every week, but then some of the teams would repeat, so you'd kind of see the same people over and over. But the teams only had like 3 or 4 guys on them. So that's 8 people an hour, so 44 divided by 8, that's about 6 minutes apiece. I mean, okay, that's doable.
Right.
32 people seems like a lot. Let's say you had 16, where you focused on 4 the first 4 weeks of the show, right? Then you could get 15 minutes a person for their first episode, and you get to know them a little bit.
What if you just had a team, like
well, eventually
a show about like you get 4 teams and they're playing each other, and
that's what they did with Game of Arms. It was like a team from
That's what
Erie,
I'm saying.
Pennsylvania, and
Right.
a team from New York, and a team from, I don't know where they picked these cities, Kansas City.
because all you're wanting is this on TV and people to see darts and go, okay, I want to play darts.
Well, look, I mean, what you're trying to do with reality TV is give people an idea of what it takes to be a successful
Right.
competitor, what it takes
so
to
you
be a
follow
successful
4
dart
different
player.
teams in their league matches and what they have to do in order to prepare for them and play
Well, I
against
think
somebody.
the idea of having somebody who maybe doesn't have the experience in darts and has never played before would be something compelling to this, because
It's
you would
got a
then
great-
be able
yeah.
to appeal that anybody can start and play this game.
Yeah,
Right.
And I think that honestly, that's one of the great strengths of the game is that it's easy to pick up. It's not expensive to start. You don't have to go out to a bowling alley or an ice rink to kind of train yourself. And I think even players would benefit from seeing the tips that I like this idea, that they would benefit from seeing the tips that the one coach is giving to the one player. Obviously, you would have to have young players, like say under 35. Like between 18 and 35 is kind of the demographic. So you need to have everybody kind of already out of college, maybe, right? Say between 22 and 30.
You got to find a bunch of hot women that can actually throw a dart.
See, I didn't say that. Well, you teach them. No, let me tell you. I was in Will's back when I was still trying to find a chat room girl. Remember that? I
Yes,
would go
I
up
do
to
remember
women
that,
and
yes,
and they'd be all excited and say they would do it, and then I'd never hear from them again because
Right.
they thought I was hitting on them. There was one girl that I actually taught her in about 1 minute to throw a dart properly.
remember
She
you
hit a
saying
double
this.
bull and she quit. She's
Yeah.
like, all right, I did it. I'm done now. She would have been fine.
Right.
She was presentable, I believe is the word you're looking for. She was presentable. She had ability. She just had no desire to play.
Right.
Right?
Put
It's
her on
matching
TV
up.
though, and all of a sudden the desire might
Well,
go
look,
up.
I mean,
Exactly.
if you got 8 or 16 people, I kind of like this idea. The other idea I had was if you got like 16 younger people, the challenge every week would be, okay, now you got to go play Scott Wollaston, or now you got to go play, I don't know, Tom Sawyer, or now you got to go play Elliot Milk. And, so you get some interviews with like the experts who are going to be basically saying, yeah, well, this guy's been playing very long. I've been playing for 20 years, so I'm pretty sure after I smoke him, I hope he learns from the experience and he takes something good from it because it's going to be painful.
Right. Yeah.
That kind of
Right,
trash
yes.
talking. You're not going to get that from somebody like Williston. Williston's from Louisiana. Williston would basically say, I'm going to bury this guy and I'm going to feed the fish with his body parts and I'm going to take his
I'm
car.
gonna go wrestle an alligator after I'm done.
I'm going to feed him to the gators in the bayou. I mean, whatever. All these, once you learn the characters, you got to go see them compete, right? But it gives you an enhanced idea of what the competition is like. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, as opposed to just following one guy around. Okay. Oh, really? Already? Okay. Melinda, stay with us. We're going to take one more break, and we'll come back and resolve this. You listen to Dart
Absolutely.
Talk. Mystery Mark, Steve Ponciam, and special guest Melinda Mannion, and we'll be right back.
forevermore warned that you consume this show at your own risk, and that Dart Talk cannot be brought to justice in any court or by any government, including and not restricted to the grand spaghetti monster of the Triple 20.
Okay, back for the fourth quarter of Dart Talk, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks our special guest, late edition Melinda Mannion. Melinda, let's talk some more about this reality show you got in mind.
Okay.
You're thinking more along the lines of let's get like some experienced players and they all have to teach somebody, and then the somebodies end up playing
Each other. So the coach gets the bragging rights, but if we say we have Darren's player square off against Scott Wollaston's player, and that could be a week, or we could have two matches each week and have maybe Colleen's player and Johnny K's player square off against each other.
I wonder if it would be like if they had to play like, say, a doubles match, and then the coaches would play each other, and then the newcomers would play each other, and then what? The doubles match would be the decider, where the newcomer had to hit the double. I mean, I guess there's ways you could do it, or you could put in some like. I mean, because there's 301, 501 in cricket. I mean, I don't think like having them play drop 10
Yeah,
or
that's what I was going to say.
is
Drop
like,
10, that's compelling.
Iron horse, golf,
Baseball.
whatever.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's a good idea.
But maybe leading up to it, as the coaches are teaching these people the game, you've got to figure you're trying to get people who have never picked up a dart before. So these people who have never picked up a dart before, are you going to throw them straight into 301, 501 cricket, or are you going to bring the TV audience into the very basic fundamentals of the game first, and then introduce the games that are played in tournaments? There's so many different ways it can be done, but I think it can definitely be successful.
Yeah, I think, the coaches would probably be taking different approaches.
Right.
Like, I mean, if you got somebody, just off the top of my head, somebody who's, like, say, like somebody like Steve Brown, who's just sort of like, would probably say, okay, just throw the way you throw. Okay, now try to do this and try to do that. Who would do like very minimal coaching versus somebody like me, who would be like automatically, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and you can't do this. Mm-hmm. Now play, right? You're not going to be able to play if you do this.
Well,
you have
obviously.
I'm more like
I think
fundamental.
each person, that would make it interesting, is each coach is going to have their own.
To see which approach works the best.
Yeah.
Right? And then invariably somebody will cheat and get like somebody who's been playing for like a lot longer than they actually say.
Right. That has
so
picked
now you
up
got
a
the
dart
sandbagger,
before. Right.
the sandbagger mentality, stuff like that. Should the women play the guys?
Absolutely.
Won't they all get smoked?
Won't who all get smoked?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think you should have it where the women play the guys, because the vast majority of men, from what I can tell, think women can't play.
Right.
Right? And there's nothing better than the look on a guy's face when some girl smokes him, because they don't respect or whatever their deal is, where they don't think women can play. It'd be a nice rude surprise. That's one episode right there.
Yeah.
Now, how do we
go
about...
Oh, and then the interviews afterwards? So what happened out there?
Best part.
As long as they're not like the People's Court, where it's like, oh, well, I don't know, I thought I was going to win, and she just played better, so thanks for the opportunity, and I really enjoyed it. That I don't want to hear.
No,
I don't want to hear anything trite.
You want to see the depressed look on his face after.
I want to see the guy take the board off the wall, fling it across the room, and say, I'm quitting this game. I'm never playing it again.
Right.
And then cheated.
And then next week he's back on TV again.
Well, whatever. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, that's theater to me. That's entertainment to me. And then, the women playing each other, I just have this. It's a hockey commercial where these girls are at the gym in a
Yeah,
Rangers
yeah,
jersey and
and
a
the
Flyers jersey. Is that what
right,
it is?
yeah.
And then it's
They're on the treadmill.
is it the Bruins and the Flyers?
Yeah,
Whatever the jerseys are. And then they're on the treadmill and they start upping the speed, and pretty soon they're sprinting and they both fall down. I mean, there's something to that. There's something to that. You could literally do it, and again, logistically, you know, to get 32 people and have a film crew follow them around 32 different places. I mean, my God, that's too big. You could probably get, like, say, 2 people in 8 different cities. So that's 16 total. You could probably get 2 people. You could probably get 2 people. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8. So you get 4 newcomers and 4 coaches in 4 separate cities. That gives you 16 players and 16 coaches. That might be doable.
Yeah.
Right? Does that sound about
Yeah,
right? So I
that's
think
right.
we got to
Yeah.
get rid of the 32 and cut it in half. So
Okay.
let's go to 16. Now, how are we going to eliminate these people? You're going to eliminate
Well, it's going to be their
everybody?
matches.
Okay, so eventually you're going to get one person from City A, one team, like coach and player, from City A, B, C, and D, and then they play each other in the grand final.
And what are they
Exactly.
playing?
And what does the winner get?
What are they
Aside
playing?
the honor of coming on Dart Talk. Well, you figure out what they're
Well,
gonna play.
that's what big sponsors need to be in there for. Obviously, there's going to have to be some sort of a prize pool or winnings from something. Even the special effects reality show gives them $100,000 off the sci-fi. So there's going to have to be something given out.
Okay, you know, $100,000, which is more than the coaches are going to make winning an event. I mean, so it's going to have to go to the winning team,
Automatic.
where the coaches get
You get an
get
automatic
half the
entry
money.
into the NAPTA event.
To what NAPTA?
Oh,
event?
there's got to be one coming up, doesn't there?
Well, apparently NAPTA and NAPTA
That's what I'm saying.
joined to
So
form
They
NAPTA.
got to have an event coming up.
Yeah, we're going to have to get somebody on to explain
That's worth
that.
$125. Or
Maybe we can
something.
get somebody live in here to talk about that. I will effort that one. For the people that are watching on YouTube, in the crawl, you'll notice we have the results from the PDC and also the Canadian Youth Nationals. So congrats to all those guys. We're not going to have time to read all the names on that. Okay, so we're set on 16 and some sort of an elimination thing. Is that where we are,
Sounds like it.
Yep.
Melinda? What else you got on that?
My off the cuff was Amish or Alaska. That seems to be the big things right now. I don't know if we want to use those hooks, but we need something that's going to pull people in. We definitely need
Nebraska.
places that maybe aren't so much on the map right now. Johnny K's area, I think, is perfect for this. And honestly, I'll tell you, Johnny K is a person who I've personally seen do this. He took a kid from the bar and taught him how to play darts, and he's a respectable player these days.
Oh, I was going to say, and that kid became Phil Taylor, but
Yeah.
okay. Probably
Yeah,
not.
no. But he's a respectable soft tip player these days, and
Plainfield,
he'll tell you
Illinois.
flat out he owes it to John.
Plainfield, Illinois, please. We must have, okay. I don't know. How did you come up with Plainfield? Tell me that's not from the chat room.
No, it's not.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, you need to get the different regions of the country represented but to be honest with you, it doesn't do much good to try to represent a part of the country where no one lives.
Right.
Right? So like the East Coast has the majority of people in the country, so you need to have people in the East. I'm thinking somebody from New England, somebody from Boston, which is like a hotbed of darts and is a real well-known sports city, and then somebody from the South, because that's a great contrast. And then the other two, I have to think you got to get somebody from the West Coast, right, and somebody from the Midwest. What's the biggest state in the Midwest? Ohio. Illinois.
Texas, I mean, I don't know if you consider that the South or the Midwest, but Texas is huge with darts.
Yeah. Well, then maybe we're going to need more than 4 cities. Well, you could get 8 cities, 2 out of 8 cities. Maybe that's the thing to do. And then, so eventually you're going to have, 8 people. You're going to have one person come out of 8 cities. Yeah. I don't know. I guess that would be doable. Again, it's going to depend on what kind of people that you get involved, right? I mean, you can't get people that have stage fright. You can't get people that are
do you
camera
hold
shy.
tryouts ahead of time for, like, you know?
Well,
Yeah, there's going to have to be an audition process,
well, I'll
obviously.
tell you what. Next week, I will name the 8 coaches.
16 coaches.
No, then it's 32 people. No, it's 8 coaches and 8 players. That's 16 people. Did
Right.
we say 16 newcomers?
Yes. Yes.
Are you kidding? 16?
16 newcomers isn't that bad when you figure you've got 4 squaring off from each region. Well, in this case, it would be 2 squaring off from each region.
Well, no. So you have 4 teams in 8 cities. That's 64 people. So 2 teams in 8 cities
Is 32 people, but that's
Well, yeah. I mean, but
Yeah,
I mean, see, what I'm
16.
thinking is, you're going to have the coaches getting, probably probably close to half of like the camera time and all that. Right. So, I mean, the coaches are going to be as crucial as, the newcomers,
Well, I think
as you're calling them.
that would be a lot of where your eccentric would come from.
Yeah, it'd be coming from the coaches
Yeah.
because, well, I don't know. I mean,
because
to be
they're the
honest
ones
with
that are
you,
going to be sitting there talking about how they're going to mold this guy into being a dart player and what they need to do to.
maybe the thing to do would, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you could do it in like a meatballs summer camp setting, where the coaches show up and then they meet the newcomer. That this is better. They get assigned the newcomer, so you get like the guy from Louisiana gets somebody from the city, and the city guy gets some country guy.
There
and the
you go.
misogynist
Now you're
gets
thinking.
the girl.
But then you want the coaches to
and
have
the guy
animosity.
who's having marriage trouble gets the hottie, right? And now you've got dynamics.
But I want coaches to
And they have to live
animosity.
together for all 16 weeks.
Well,
Well, okay. Obviously it's not going to be 16
the guy
weeks.
I would be coaching against the guy you would be coaching, and I'm going to be telling I don't like you, so I'm going to train this guy because I want him to just.
Well, and that's
beat
the
your
other thing
guys.
is like under no like let's say for instance, I don't want to pick on anybody and get like nasty grants, but let's say for instance you had DJ Sayer and Gordon Dixon coaching against each other. I'm pretty sure those guys don't want to lose to each other.
Right.
I think that's safe to
So
say.
they're going to do
Right.
everything they can, and then they're on camera saying how they've trained their guy better than that guy has. And
Right. and then we'll see what happens. But I like the idea of getting everybody together and then assigning the players to the coaches. I like
I
that.
agree.
I think that would be dramatic. And one of your complaints with reality TV is it's like, there's too much behind the scenes shenanigans,
Right.
and they're scripting this and they're scripting that. At least you're upfront about this. We're going to script this part, and then you just kind of move on.
well, I'm not saying I'd watch this show either, but what I'm saying is
Why do you even do this show then?
I don't watch reality TV.
Oh, that's right. You did
But
say
I'm
that
not.
up front.
But I that doesn't mean I don't understand that reality TV is popular and that this actually could work. And I get the concept. And
Well, look, it's popular it's popular for a lot of reasons. It's cheap to produce.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay actors really.
I think it's a good idea.
And but a lot of these reality shows don't stick around.
Mhm.
Right. The Real Housewives of something.
Well,
they had to move to another city.
Preacher.
Oh, no,
says-
they're still around. They just keep adding
Yeah.
cities.
Oh, okay.
Their preacher says that he thinks that 16's too many. 8 coaches, 8 players would be good. They wouldn't make it a 7 to 8 week thing. You have to make it a 4-week series.
A 4-week series.
Got to make it good enough to expand to the next season.
That's like doing a pilot.
That's
Yeah.
pretty much what he's saying.
4 weeks. I think 4 weeks is too short,
And you make it
especially
good enough to make it.
with
to the next year.
DVDs or with like DVRs and Netflix and everything. I think 8 weeks is okay. Which 8 teams, 8 weeks. Yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that. I mean, I like this coach idea. I like the idea of assigning.
I like that too.
The players to the coaches. I think the hardest thing to do is going to be finding newcomers that people want to watch.
Right.
And I think that the one beauty of this idea that I like, Melinda, is that it would show how easy the game is to pick up. You could show these people literally being practically unable to hit the board and having somebody like me just like,
Well, and then
Oh,
and
this is
4
going to
weeks,
take a while.
4 weeks later, all of
and
a
then
sudden,
4 weeks later, hey, look, I shot a ton 40.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my camera and
Exactly.
take a picture of it. I mean,
Right.
I think that would be compelling to almost anyone who's ever played like in a league or played semi-competitive, right?
I agree 100%
Yeah.
because I'm living proof of that. If you dedicate yourself to it and you've got the right people teaching you, it's not rocket science.
Well, it never was. I mean, people make the game, and I probably was guilty of this for years. I mean, people make this game a lot harder than it is. I mean, it's a relatively simple game, right? I mean,
Until you get in your own head.
well, that's any
Yeah.
sport. You get in your own head and you're in trouble. Doesn't really matter.
But that's another big aspect of this show is the people start to get better. They start to think about it. They just know enough to
And
be
then you got your
stupid at
coach
that point.
yelling at you. What are you doing? You can't think about this stuff, and then all of a sudden you have this big blow up.
this is interesting.
We could write this stuff.
We're going to have you back on next week, Melinda, because we talked offline about a couple of topics that I thought were well worthy of discussion, but we're over an hour, and I want to watch the third period of the hockey game.
Anytime, guys.
So-
I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so don't hang up. We're gonna. I want to talk to you after the show.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for listening. We'll have more results for you next week. I'll try to get the bullshooter results on the crawl next week. Thanks to Melinda Mannion. Thanks to our studio guests who are here. We will be back next week at our normal time, and then we may have to actually make another little change in a couple of weeks as far as schedule-wise. I'll tell you about that offline. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we will Dart Talk to you next week. Everyone, take care.